Good morning, class. This is Mr. Walker here coming to you with our do now for today. Now, let's look at what we are doing. So, find the solution of the problem below. Write your answer on the assigned sticky note. I'm going to give you guys about 2 minutes for this, all right? Remember, this problem is worth 2 points. All right, folks, it's been about 2 minutes, so let's check to see what your answers are here. Oh, I see. You guys have all given me very good answers here. Now, you may be wondering, how do we go about solving this? Let's take a look at the process on the next slide. So if you guys can all transition over to the next slide over here, slide 2, then I will go through this. All right, I'm seeing people coming over here. Thank you for coming over here to the slide. If you're not over here, please jump over. Okay, so reviewing our do now quickly, we have x minus 3 equals 2 minus 4x. Now remember, our purpose for this is to get all of our variables to one side and all of our constants to the other side. And we are going to break this down until at the end of it, there's one variable equals one constant. So, first step is we're just going to have to manipulate our equation here so that we can go through and do this. So the first thing I do is I added my 4x from the right side of the equation to the left side. So I went through, I added 4x to both sides, and what's going to happen is up top, this 4x and this 4x are going to cancel each other out, meaning that I am not going to have on this side of the equation any more x's. On this side, though, this x and these 4x, this is going to actually go through and add together. So remember, when we go through and add this, if you're unsure about how to add these two, remember this x here has a 1 in front of it. It's not always written, but it's implied. So our next stop here, we see that we're adding 1x plus 4x, which gives us 5x right underneath it. And then we just bring down everything else that hasn't been changed. So that minus 3 comes down, this 2 comes on down, and we still have our same equation as we did in the beginning. We only just changed up a couple things. All right, our next step, we moved all our variables to one side of the equation. We need to now move our constant term over here to the other side. So let's go through, let's move that. In order to move it, we're going to go through and we are going to add 3 to both sides. So I'm adding 3 to this side and to this. So just like what happens with the 4x and the 4x here, this minus 3 and this plus 3, they're both going to cancel each other out, y'all. So that means that there is no more constants on this side. There's just 5x. Over here on the right, we now got 2 plus 3. Now that's something simple. We already know that 2 plus 3 gives us 5, which means that over here on the left side, we just got 5x by itself. And now over here on the right side, we have 5 by itself. Now here's where we go through and we are going to use a different operation. We've been doing addition and subtraction for the last one. So right now we got 5x and 5. In order for me to get this x here by itself, I have to do the opposite of what's happening to it. Right now 5 and x are multiplying together. The opposite of me multiplying something would be me dividing something. So that means I have to divide this side here, 5x by 5. And over here on the right, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to divide 5 also by 5. So when we go through and do this, 5 divided by 5, since these are both the opposites of each other, what happens here is this and this cancel each other out, and it technically makes a 1. Now over here on the right, something similar happens. If you remember back with fractions, 5 over 5 is also equal to 1. So what happens is, at the very end of it, we are left with, on the right, our 1x, and on the left, we are left with 1. So that's our quick run through of the do now, y'all. Now this was a couple of steps here, but I don't want that to, make you feel a little skittish or make you feel a little afraid. Remember, as long as you keep track of what you are moving and keep track of your signs and your numbers, you'll be fine. Now, I'm going to take a look at another problem together before I get you guys on ClassKick and work on a couple on your own. All right, move over to slide 3 with me, folks. If you're moving over to slide 3, you are absolutely doing the right thing here. I'm seeing some of you guys come up here. Good job, y'all. So here we are. We are going to find the solution to this problem I've given you. If you are doing this as you should be writing your answer not only in the chat, but also, work through this out on your paper, okay? Take your time, work this out. This is worth 2 points. After you guys do this, I'm going to model how you solve this equation. So remember our equation here, that's 2x minus 6 equals 4 minus 8x. Now, since you guys are on the same Jamboard with me, take a minute, look at some of the stuff that we did over here if you're confused as to what you need to do next. I'm going to give you guys about 3-4 minutes, and I'll catch you in a few seconds. Okay, guys, it's been about 3 or 4 minutes, so let's go through and check how to solve this. Now remember, just like we did before, we are going to go through and find out a way to get x on one side and everything else on the other. So remember, just like what we did with our last problem, our answer should have x over here, and it equals something else. Okay? So let's go through our steps here. First step, we want to get all of our variables on one side, all of our constant terms on the other side. Remember, your variables, those are obviously the letters that we're seeing in our problem. Your constants, those are anything that does not have a variable attached to it. So something that's to the left of it, obviously. Not left, right, sorry. Okay, so let's take a look at this. What I like to do is I like to move whatever is negative to the other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 8x, and since we're subtracting this, this makes this negative. I'm going to move this to the other side by doing the opposite of what's happening. The opposite of subtracting 8 is adding 8. So I am adding 8, and since this x is along with it, I'm going to add that x with it. Now on the other side, I am adding 8x. And we're going to go through, let's just separate this out from what we're going to get next. Now, if I add 8x to both sides, on this side, since I'm doing the opposite of what's there, 8x and 8x, those are going to cancel each other out. Over here on the right now, I do 2x plus 8x. Now we know 2 plus 8 is 10. And since both of them add an x, that'll be a 10x. Now, just like we've done before on the previous problem, we're just going to bring down this 6, and we're going to bring down this 4, okay? So I have 6, and that equals 4. All right. Now that we're here, same step that we did before, instead of us dealing with the x's, now we're just going to deal with the constants. So I'm going to move this minus 6 from this side to the other by doing the opposite of what's happening. So the opposite of us subtracting 6 is us adding 6. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add 6 to both sides here. So just like we did before, you notice when we did the opposite of what was happening with 8x, they both cancel out. We're doing the opposite of what's happening with 6, which means that here it'll cancel out as well. So let's go through. Let's simplify. I got 4 plus 6. 4 plus 6 gives me 10. And that is equal to what's left over here. What's left over here is only the 10x. So I have 10x equals 10. Now, we got to go through. We got to get x by itself. So it means right now x is being multiplied by 10. The opposite of that is us dividing by 10. So over here, if I'm dividing 10x by 10, that means that these both will cancel out, leaving just x by itself. Over here, now I'm doing 10 divided by 10. Anything that's divided by itself gives you 1, which means that our x here equals 1. Oh, let me get that a little straightened out. Look a little better for us. Equals 1. And there we go. Now remember, if you ever needed to check these, just go through and pop those back into the equation so that you can go through and do that. I'm going to leave that up to you. Okay? Now, what you guys are going to do, let's transition back over to class kick and let's check to see what is our next step. So, heading over to class kick, we are going to be doing some more practice with this. You're going to notice that we did equation 1 here that's in this chart. And we went through and solved this for our do now. What I need you to do is look at equations A, B, C, and D in the chart. And I want you to highlight the equations that have the same solution as equation 1. So, you are going to need to look back at your Jamboard for this, okay? Make sure that you go through, if you need to highlight this, go to the highlighting tool, and you're going to go through and highlight which ones have the same equations, the same equations that have the same solution as what we have over here for equation 1, okay? And I will give you guys about 4 minutes for this. Remember, this is worth 2 points. Don't miss out on an easy 2 points, y'all. I will catch you in a few.